on, everybody? Steve here, Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com, and today we are joined by my good friend Dominick of the
Primetime Treasure Hunter.
And today we have a really interesting topic which will benefit a lot of you because we're going to be talking about the truth regarding staying motivated as a reseller during tough times. And a lot of people don't talk about this topic. A lot of times you'll watch YouTube videos or you'll be in Facebook groups and everything's all peachy and sunshines and everything's always going great because that's the way it is on social media and that's what most people want to see. But the reality is when you're a reseller, there's going to be ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And the question is, how do you stay motivated, Dominick, when you hit those tough times in your reselling business? And maybe we'll talk about some of the tough times.
It's funny you bring that up. I actually just did a video about that because I was having a string of several days where I was not hitting my goals, and it's it's something that could definitely be frustrating. But you just have to keep in mind what is your main goal, your main driving factor for why you're doing what you're doing, and it really helps if you enjoy it. Like if you enjoy reselling, if you're just doing it because someone told you that it might be cool and you don't really like the kind of product, or so you hate doing clothes or something like that. So you have to like and enjoy what it is. Sometimes we go off track a little bit, like maybe you specialize in clothes, but you started doing automotive and you're putting a lot of that stuff up and it's not selling well. Well, then you got to go back to the clothes. You got to go back to what it is that you like, that to keep you motivated and to just continue going, with what it is that you specialize in.
Yeah, I think that's a big important point that Dominick mentioned was, what's your reason why? I remember 5 or 6 years ago when I quit the Cracker Barrel, I was broke as a joke, $23,000 in debt. I was living at home with my parents. I wanted to, find a girlfriend, but back then I was 26 years old. I didn't want to bring her back and live at home with my parents and stuff. So it's like, I had this crazy motivation to where I wanted to get my own place, my own apartment. I wanted to find a girlfriend. I didn't want to be broke, stuck in a 9-to-5 job. What about you? What was your motivation? Because the interesting thing is you're actually a full-time neuropsychologist.
Right.
So I'm sure that you're probably making good money. You've probably got a great career, family life. So I mean, what was it for you?
It's very interesting. People ask me that a lot. Like, why are you doing this? Like you said, you have this full-time job. Several reasons. One, I've always wanted to run a business. And, when I was younger, I worked at a convenience store, a family-owned business, corner store. And I just loved back then just the notion that you could have the freedom of just, you're the boss, you call the shots, you buy your product, you sell it, you flip it. I mean, that's what you're doing even when you have a retail store. And so one of the things that I really have always wanted to do is to start my own business. When I was younger, I worked at a convenience store. And I really liked the idea of, you could, purchase your own product, and, you could flip it, and you could be in charge of your own time and all that type of thing. Yeah, the freedom. And a lot of people talk about that, the freedom involved in, in reselling. And so I enjoy that. The other thing for me is that I'm mid-career in my profession. And so I've accomplished a lot of things in terms of that angle of it. I've published 2 books. I've been president of different associations, state associations, local associations. I'm board certified in my profession. So I've accomplished a lot of things that would be kind of on the radar in terms of what you would think that I should do in my profession. And so I decided, what, I want another challenge. I'm someone who's very goal driven, and so I like accomplishing goals and conquering them, or crushing them, as you like to say, or slaughtering them, smashing them. I love doing that, and that's actually what keeps me going when I have days where I'm not hitting those goals for maybe 2-3 days in a row. Is I want to figure out why I didn't do that, what was the obstacle, and then try to find out ways to work around it so I could get back. And it's like getting knocked down in a fight. You just keep getting back up. You have to have that mindset that you're just going to get back up and not lay down. You're just going to keep coming at it.
One of the biggest things to staying motivated is actually momentum, being consistent over time. So it's kind of like a callus on your hand when you're working out. Over time, you go through crap and you push yourself and it gets harder and you have to fight through the pain, but you get stronger. And over time, you start to build momentum and consistency. And that's one of the biggest things. The longer you stick with something, the more motivated you feel. Like when you do what you don't want to do over a long haul, it's easier. You start to get more feelings of motivation. Motivation just doesn't come. Comes with
Absolutely.
experience.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with that, and it's also that's staying motivated along with what you're talking about is a great way to do that is by just continuing to keep that steady workflow in terms of not getting interrupted and just continuing to just work without getting all these blockages and stops. That makes you more efficient. If you can make yourself more efficient and make yourself more productive, and you're going to be more likely to hit those goals and accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish. And when you're accomplishing things, that's just naturally reinforcing, and then you're just going to keep going from there.
We're gonna pause it for a second,
Yep.
Because DoorDash is literally here
okay.
right now.
All right.
So here, I can't find your place every single time. They'll just be lazy and they don't want to look, so they'll just call you and they want you to direct them here. Look at the signs. I don't know where you are, what entrance you came in. I used to be a delivery driver too. Like it sucks, but you just got to use your head and look at the signs a little bit.
Right.
You found it? Okay. Or
Yeah. I mean, I had to turn around like one time. But,
Yep. The trend is reoccurring. Now they sit and they'll sit there thinking, "What the heck do I do?" Got some DoorDash in the house right now. If you want to stay motivated, that's how you stay motivated.
what is that, Steve?
This is some mineral water. I actually discovered this when I was in Austin, Texas. It's very popular.
Right.
So when you go to the garage sales in Austin, Texas,
Right.
a lot of times, people will be selling bottles of water.
Right.
No, they're selling bottles of mineral Topo Chico.
So no Mountain Dew for you.
No Mountain Dew for me. All right, so I'm back. Just got my Chipotle, DoorDash, big shout out. Love DoorDash, Uber Eats.
Yeah, Steve's going hardcore with the mineral water there. And he's combating my Mountain Dew, so that's all right.
So we're back to the video, and one of the things that every eBay seller, Amazon seller is going to have to deal with, and just in terms of motivation to keep them going, is dealing with returns, canceled orders. Sometimes thrift stores are dry, you can't find stuff. Like, have you ever had a time in your reselling business where maybe, for example, you sold like an amazing item and then you get hit with that dreaded email and it's like, we don't want the item anymore, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Damaged or what's that called when people they buy it and then they don't want it anymore?
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah, buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stay motivated, especially for a beginner, or maybe when you were new, you get smashed with that and you're just like, is this worth it? Like,
yeah, it is. Those things are annoying, but you have to remind yourself that that's part of doing business. In any business, you're going to have to deal with complaints. You're going to have to deal with people who are not satisfied. Even though you might have done everything right, someone still, like you said, might do a buyer's remorse, and that's not in your control. I mean, that's so you got to focus on what you can control, and you can control how you react to things. You cannot control always what's going to happen to you. So that's always something important to keep in mind. You control your thoughts, and when you control your thoughts, that's what affects your feelings. So I'm talking very much like a psychologist here, but I like to apply those principles to my reselling business because it helps me stay positive and stay motivated.
yeah, there's going to be some things that are in control.
Yep.
That you're in control of, and things that are outside of your control.
Yep.
I remember when I was just getting started, this was something that was in control, and I just made a big boo-boo. I made a big mistake, and I lost a lot of motivation. And I'll kind of circle around and talk about the lesson, but I had sold a whole bunch of items, a bunch of clothing items, and I got confused somehow, and I shipped off 2 items to 2 opposite people. So one person received it, and they had gotten this Brooks Brothers like Laurel Piana item, and then the other person got like a Ralph Lauren, or I think it was actually, they were both Brooks Brothers. That's why I got confused.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. So like one way to stay motivated is to be a part of communities, whether it's a Facebook group or commenting in the YouTube comments, because you're going to realize in business, people make mistakes, things screw up, and it's normal. Everybody makes mistakes. Don't beat yourself up and say, I'm stupid, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, my teacher was right, my mom, my dad was right, I'm never going to be able to do this. That's one of the best ways to not stay motivated, is to continue beating yourself up.
That's right. And those are called negative automatic thoughts, and people tend to do that a lot. That's why no one ever wrote a book on how to think negative, because it's too easy. So it takes work to think positively, and you've got to continuously remind yourself of that. So when you make a mistake in your business, if that was something that you could have control, then what you have to do is just say, okay, go back to the root cause of what happened there, and try to figure out how to implement a process so that does not happen again. And so you turn that negative into a positive. I love doing that all the time. I talk about, you just turn lemons into lemonade. That's how you have to think about it to keep yourself going. And you have to have a short memory, Steve. I mean, I talk about that a lot, that reselling is like sports, and a successful sports player, a successful athlete, after they have a bad game, they don't sit there and dwell on it too much. They might be mad that one day, but then the next day they're back in the gym working hard. They're figuring out what they did wrong, how to outsmart their opponent, and then the next game they come back, have 20 points, or hit 2 home runs, or get 5, they strike out 5, 6 batters in the game, something like that.
Yeah.
You've got to have a short memory.
Yeah.
For the good and the bad.
Yeah.
For the good and the bad.
Yeah. And another great tip, and this is going to be my last tip, maybe you have another one as well that you want to share, is your environment is very important. Who you hang out with, who you're listening to, whether that's audiobooks, books, or just family members or friends. If you have people who are constantly telling you you can't do it, I tried this in the past, it didn't work, or you're not smart enough. I know I kind of touched on that a little bit, but your environment is so important. YouTube, friends, meetups, Google Hangouts, environment is everything for motivation, because there was a quote, I think it was by Tony Robbins' mentor, Jim Rohn, and he said that the results you get, I'm going to slaughter this, but essentially you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with most. So if you're hanging out with 5 people who are broke, you're probably going to be broke. If you're hanging out with 5 people who just work 9 to 5s, and who have tried starting businesses but quit, you're probably going to be the 6th.
Right. My dad always used to say, "Tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. Tell me who you hang out with, and that kind of tells a lot about you." And that's true. And the reselling community, by and large, is excellent in terms of a lot of positivity out there. I'm going to do a little brown nosing here, right? Because one of my favorite videos you ever did was a motivational one where you're sitting in the car, you had a little sad music playing in the background, if you had a bad day, right? And what to do. And so, you're basically saying essentially what I was saying earlier, which is that you've got to have that mentality that you're not going to give up, that you're going to come back, and you're going to have resilience. Resilience is very important. Reaching out to that community and having other people tell you, "Don't worry, I made that same mistake too."
Yes.
And especially if it's someone who had more experience than you, and you see that they're still successful, then you say to yourself, "Wow, okay, well, I could move on from this. Okay, yeah, it stinks. I got a negative feedback, but here's the other thing, Steve. Don't have your mindset drawn overly to the negative when you have so many more positive things to focus on. So why focus extra amount of energy on one neutral feedback when you have 300 positives? You've got to...
It's the same thing with YouTube, too. You'll have 100 likes, and we look at the 2 dislikes.
That's right.
It's just so stupid.
Exactly. That's how we're set up. So you have to work to counter that. It does take some work. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I don't know, do you have anything else you want to mention in terms of motivation? Because I know this is going to be one of the biggest things that holds people back. It's not what to buy, what to sell, how many items to list. It all comes back to psychology. eBay, Amazon, all this stuff. Steve, with reselling, I would say primarily make sure you are doing what you like. You are selling things you like. You do need to branch out, diversify, but selling things you like is crucial. That's really important. You have to enjoy what you're doing at its base. And the last thing I would say, Steve, is that you want to make sure that you have well-defined goals that you're trying to hit each year. So I have a ton of goals that are set up for this year, one of which was to do video collaborations with other resellers. And so that's one of my goals here, and I plan on doing some other ones. You were persistent too.
I was persistent. In fact, this video almost never happened. Us meeting almost never happened. I had to be persistent to make sure that occurred, and it did. So you've got to have that go-getter type of attitude in reselling to be successful. You can't take an initial disappointment and then tuck your head between your tail and then just walk away. You've got to kind of come back at it and don't get too down, but have those goals, have financial goals, have social media goals, have networking goals, and make them tangible and make them ones that are realistic to reach. And if you do that, you should be able to crush most of them within the year. And if you didn't, then again, you just try to figure out what went wrong, and then the next year you come back and you just go and crush it that year.
Awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
Well, appreciate you being on. And if you guys aren't already subscribed to Dominick, check him out. There'll be links below in the description. Also, let us know in the comments, what's your number 1 goal for 2019 in your reselling business? And also, I want to dive a little deeper. What's your number 1 reason why you want to hit that goal? I'd be very curious to know in the comments below. With that being said, thanks so much for watching. Keep on picking and making that money, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.